What's going on, guys? I want to talk to you a little bit about knowing your holds. So let's say you have your rifle optic zeroed at 15 yards and this guy's standing at 15 yards. If you aim through the optic and shoot, let's say aiming at the chest, you're going to end up hitting the chest. This guy who's closer than this guy, let's say he's way closer than that, and you shoot aiming at the chest using the optic, the bullet's going to land way below that. Now there's different math for different projectiles, different risers and optics and all that stuff. You got to figure it out. But the logic is because your optic sits way higher than your barrel, and in some cases like this where you have a riser, the distance at where the bullet hits is going to be way different than what you're aiming at. So you want to make sure you know what your hold is. Long range optics usually have this stuff etched into the optic so that you can shoot at different distances, and the bullet drops at different distances for different bullets and all that stuff, so it's etched in. But for red dots, close quarter optics, unless they have that outer ring like the EOTech does, it's very difficult to know your hold. So you want to make sure you're familiar with where the bullet lands at closer distances than your zero. After your zero, distance is also a thing, but for now let's just talk about inside that. So your bullet's going to land lower than where your optic is showing. So you want to make sure you know where that distance is if you're closer than your zero, which you're most likely to be inside a building. Now I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, inside a building it doesn't matter, you're mostly just pointing and shooting, which I agree in some scenarios, but sometimes you have situations like this where you have a no-shoot target and you don't want to be pointing and shooting randomly. You want to make sure you know where your hold is, and especially if you're way closer, you're within 5 yards. If you're aiming here, your bullet's going to land a few inches below that. Especially if what I've shown you, you're using risers and all that stuff, you want to make sure that you're familiar with where your bullet lands at closer distances. Going out and just zeroing your rifle is not enough. After you zero, make sure you try it at a closer distance at the range. Put it at 5 yards, put it closer than that, and be familiar with where your bullet lands and where you need to look in your optic to achieve the target you want. So just make sure you keep trying it and you're familiar with it, and you know where to look in the optic, and you know how much distance there is between what the optic is showing and where the bullet's landing. So know your holds.